So welcome everybody. My name is Judy Mark. I am the president of Disability Voices United. And I'm feeling much better now than I was when I woke up this morning, but we don't have to explain that. And I also want to share you that we just got Disability Voices United masks. Woohoo! We will be letting you all know how you can purchase one from DVU over the course of the next couple of weeks. They
Great.
great stocking stuffers, as if everybody in your household, this is all they would really want for the holidays.
Absolutely.
Okay. So our subject today, we decided that our subject was so important today about the successes in self-determination that the only people who are allowed to speak on it had to be named Kelley. And so we have the two best Kelleys in the state of California. We have Kelley Kulzer-Reyes and Kelley Coleman. And we also have, after them, we will have a self-advocate speaking about her experiences, which is going to be great. So I'm going to start by introducing Kelley Calzareas, who is on the board of directors of Disability Voices United, is super involved in 8 million other organizations. She's also a professor at Taft College, and most importantly, the mother of 18 children. Oh no, I guess it's only 3 or 4. Do you have 4 or 3?
No, my husband doesn't count, just the three.
Oh, okay. She has 3 children, one of which happens to have Down syndrome and is part of the self-determination program. But she also helps lots of other people at Kern Regional Center and other places go into the program. So I thought, let's tell some great stories about how great self-determination is to give you all ideas of how you can spend your budget. So go right ahead, Kelley.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here. I don't know if any of you've met Judy Mark in person, but when you're voluntold, you just do as you're told. So thank you again for voluntolding me to be here today, or voluntelling me perhaps, I'm not sure. I'm thrilled to be here to share with you our successes. And if you have questions about how we made them into successes, I'd be happy to answer those questions as well. I would love to say that this has been a very easy process. That would be a colossal lie. And I wouldn't do that to you. I do know how to make the system work in a couple of regional centers. And I would say that my regional center right now is maybe the hardest of the ones I've had to work with, unfortunately. Really good people, just we're still working on it. So this is my daughter, Amelia. She is, I don't know if you, I'm only going to share just one picture just so you can get an idea of what we've been doing with our self-determination program. So we live in the mountains in a rural isolated area. This is our little house behind us here. This is Amelia's brand new play set. That play structure was purchased with her self-determination funds. It has helped decrease elopement. It has helped increase her health and safety. It has done all kinds of awesome things. I don't know if you can see that it also is somewhere where princesses can swing if they need to. And that has worked out really, really well because her community right now, and I know we've talked a lot about home and community-based services, her community is her siblings right now. We cannot safely have her out in the world, like many of us are concerned about the global pandemic. And as a result, we are homeschooling full-time this year, which is great. But also we are doing the best that we can to meet her needs with her brothers. Three total, okay? 3 siblings. There are not 18 of them. It just feels like 18 most days. We've also actually created our own COVID bubble in the mountain. So our friend created a cooking and art class for her. Her big brother with Amelia, and then the 2 siblings at the house where we have our little COVID bubble do this class together. This is Amelia's very best friend in the whole world right now. Her name is Bianca, and she's been a phenomenal gift to our family. She helps Amelia stay on task, which I'm sure if any of you've ever met Amelia know that that may be harder than it sounds. So we're doing our best. She's doing a great job with her decorating her haunted gingerbread house there. And we have a different class every week. And then we pay the teacher, who's our friend, to teach that class. We pay her to plan it. We pay her enough to cover all of her supplies. And that is part of Amelia's self-determination program as well. So those are just two ideas of ways to use self-determination funds that maybe you have thought of before, maybe you haven't. But the way that we did that, really, I'm actually going to stop my share because I like to see your faces, because sometimes I can see questions and sometimes I can't. Teacher mode in Zoom, so it's kind of a occupational hazard. So what we did is we took the money that was respite and the money that was ABA, and we re-envisioned it to give us what we actually wanted for Amelia. And sometimes I think a lot of us have services because it's what we can get, and that's not a self-determined life. I don't care how many times a regional center says, but your respite needs are met. It's like, yeah, actually what I need is for her to go somewhere and do something so that I can have an hour to clean my house without worrying that she's going to run out my front door. And respite doesn't really do that for us, but her going to her friend's house and cooking and learning how to be an independent grown-up and learning how to make her dreams come true, that is for us a self-determined life. So we are very excited. I don't think in 8 years we've ever been this happy with the supports and services provided by the regional center. And I can't envision it getting worse now that we're through the process. It wasn't easy. Everything, we've been very careful to make sure every goal connects with the service code, connects with this purchase, and I've been really involved in that. And I've actually helped now 4 other families navigate that. I'm sorry, 4 other clients, it's 3 families, navigate that same system. And that has been very rewarding to be able to make an impact on those families' lives. And they have similar experiences at this point. I've got a couple other people who want to be doing this, but they just can't with the time crunch and the COVID life and everything. We're all just trying to make it right now. I'm sure nobody else can relate to that, just making it, but at our house, we're making it the best that we can. As far as service codes go and goals and things like that, we really shouldn't have to be doing those things. But I think we all know that if we don't do them and we don't have a solution and an answer, that a lot of us aren't going to be successful. And so the better your independent facilitator is, in my case, we have an amazing one. I hired someone to work on our program because I just didn't want to be that close to it. I wanted someone else to have to do it. I didn't want one more thing. And I still pay her to do all of the phone calls, all ordering, all the crud that comes through. I am happy to sign those invoices when they come in and forward them to our amazing FMS. When we do use GT Independence, and they've been a gift for us. And hopefully you found an FMS that works for you, but we've been thrilled with our experience with that. I don't know what kinds of information or questions might exist, or Judy, if you want to wait with questions, do you want to?
Yes, please. That was great.
Okay, yay.
So cute.
She is, isn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Or me, you meant Amelia, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Daughter. That's daughter.
She's cute. Oh yeah, that's what I thought you meant.
Right. So I just want to give a heads up to the 2 Kelleys that we've had a couple of people in the chat mention this is their first SDP Connect, and they don't even know what the self-determination program is. So there may in fact be some pretty basic questions after you both get done.
Sure.
So next I would like to introduce Kelley Coleman.
Can you say welcome to them for me, please? I'm so glad they're here.
Welcome. I know they want to learn about self-determination. We have lots of ways for you to do that. It's great to have you. Next I would like to introduce Kelley Coleman, who has a child who's served by North LA Regional Center, who sent me the most beautiful message about how great self-determination has been for her family, especially during the time of COVID. And I'm like, you got to talk about this on SDP Connect. And thank you so much for joining us, Kelley. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Judy, and especially for the new people. We have Judy.
Kelley, you might be muted. Yes, you are.
Am I?
No, you're not muted. If your mic is no longer working.
I can dance.
Oh, I I did.
Oh,
I have English and muted original audio. I'm now going to unmute my original audio. Go ahead, Kelley.
all right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I think when
Fantastic.
you're English speaking, maybe you're not supposed to mute. I don't know. But I always find there's a problem when I mute my original audio.
Yeah, I'm still figuring out Zoom. So
Okay.
thank you, Judy. And especially
not
for
you.
those who are new to all of this, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Judy Mark pushing relentlessly this boulder uphill. So thank you, Judy, for everything that you do. I know Judy and I have communicated via email a number of times, but this is the closest we've come to meeting in person. So one day it will happen.
Yay.
And the 30 seconds of what is self-determination, of how it was explained to me for the new people, is basically your bucket of money that regional centers spent on the clients over the past 12 months. They say, here is the bucket of money. How would you like to spend it for the coming 12 months? It is much more complicated than
Kelley,
that. Yes.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
Please.
But the problem seems to be on your end. Some people can't hear you. Have you selected English as your language? So for everyone, you should go down to interpretation, the bottom of your screen, click on it, and it'll give you a choice of English or Spanish.
Is that better for everyone?
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
Thank you guys for letting me know. I appreciate it.
All right, great.
So quick summary, Judy's awesome. We have her to thank. I'm pointing this way because she's right next to me in my
I'm this way.
in my chat. Judy, wherever she is. And it's like Hollywood Squares.
Yes.
And self-determination was first explained to me as regional center has a bucket of money they've spent on the clients, in our case, our child, over the past 12 months. And it is our opportunity to say, instead of them telling us how the money comes out of that bucket, they're bringing the bucket to us and saying, within the parameters of the different categories and the appropriate codes, how do you want to spend that money? So as you will hear on this call and on future everything, it is an opportunity to really allow the client to take charge and do what they want to do. Our process started, it was over a year and a half from when we first got the letter that said we were in the program to when we were able to start using self-determination. Part of that, which we knew from the beginning, was that we were among the first in a pilot program, and particularly at our regional center. So we knew we would be dealing with a lot of hiccups and learning curves along the way. For us, it was much longer and more complicated than I had anticipated. The good news is you are on this call, and so it should be shorter and less complicated than any of us who have been through the process already. Many of the bumps have been ironed out. And our quick overview of our process was we got in, and once we started working with our independent facilitator, which is not the right choice for everyone, for us, it is unquestionably the right choice. And I think we would still not be in if not for our independent facilitator. We're working with a woman named Tammy Pauley. Our financial manager that we're using is also GT Independence, and we've been very happy with them, but there are many options for everybody. For us, having an independent facilitator meant someone who knows more than me, who knows what a service code is, who knows when I say, my 7-year-old really wants a margarita machine. And she says, no, your 7-year-old is not going to get a margarita machine. That's our joke. But someone who knows it better than I do. And for me, that eliminated a lot of stress and a lot of time. So if you are considering whether or not you need an independent facilitator, I think the answer that is a definite yes is speaking with at least one independent facilitator to see what they can do for you. And for us, the stress and the time that that she has saved us has been invaluable. So for me, I don't think I would still be trying to figure this out if it was just me. With our self-determination money, some of the things, and the thing that I'd emailed Judy about, first of all, we have our dog who is right here. But just before the world shut down, so mid-February, we were fortunate enough to get a service dog, a skilled companion for our son. We have 2 children. Let me see if I can briefly share. I have one picture pulled up. we have two children, one of whom is 9 years old, is a typical boy named Sean. The other one is a 7-year-old named Aaron, who has multiple disabilities. He has a genetic something that science has yet to figure out what it is, but as part of that, he is severely impacted. He is mobile but has many fine motor, gross motor impairments. He is mostly nonverbal. He is well behind his same aged peers. He has a feeding tube. He has epilepsy. He has microcephaly. He has cortical vision impairment. So he is very interested in and participatory in the world around him. Oh, our dog wants to say hi, but he does need a lot of supports. And this is our dog, our service dog that we got in February, right before the world shut down. And one of the things self-determination is paying for us are the related costs to the service dog. The organization we went through, CCI, is donation funded. So we did not have to go out of pocket to get the dog or to do the training required to get the dog. But costs such as her food, her pet insurance, those we are funneling through self-determination. And I know for a lot of people, a skilled companion dog is really life-changing, and especially for us, that has broadened our circle quite a bit during the quarantine, that it's been really nice to have that and have self-determination assisting with that for our son. So the service dog costs, and the thing that I had messaged Judy about the other day, we got this bike that I have had my eye on for several years. And of course, I wish I had gotten several years ago, because our son is very unpredictable with his movements and can be jerky and has a history of chronic vomiting.
I want to show you this bike.
Oh, what was that?
Oh, I didn't hear anything. So go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Great. So, and I wish I had a picture on it, but my son's on a student council meeting on my laptop. So let me see. All right, my screen share isn't working as I would like. But so this bike, he's not stable enough to, on a regular bicycle, sit in a kid seat that's attached to the back. So that's not an option. And sitting in a trailer behind us is not an option because he's unpredictable. So
you should be able to share your screen right now if you want to show it. That was on our end. Sorry about that.
Okay, no worries. So with let's see, it is not letting me share from my end now. I will try again in a moment when I'm not speaking. So we have this bike, it's called a Taga bike, that I sit on it in the back, and then there is a seat in front of me so I can have my eyes on him the whole time while we are riding. And we had rented it previously. There's one place in Los Angeles we know of that rents these. And when we've rented it in the past, he lights up, and the whole time he's on this bike is giggling and the wind in his hair, and he doesn't get to go fast, certainly when we're in the stroller, because I'm a very slow walker and jogger in the stroller. But it is giving the feeling and the input of being in a bike, because he is less surrounded by stuff. And miraculously, much to my amazement, he keeps his helmet on, which is great. But he is able to be in a bike. We have trialed so many adaptive bikes, but our son is such a long way from being able to functionally use those. An adaptive bike, for us, he is years away from being able to use it as a bike. And even though he is not powering this himself, it is giving him the feeling that hopefully will set him up for bike riding. So he understands, I like being on a bike. I like going fast. And our family, for the first time ever, and our sons are 7 and 9, have been able to go on bike rides, which during a quarantine has been so invaluable. And the reactions that he gets from the community, even when everybody is all the way across the street and distancing and wearing masks, the reactions and interactions that he gets in this bike are astounding. He's like the mayor of the neighborhood. In the stroller, he's kind of tucked in and you kind of can't see him, and he's sort of trying to lean. but he's not really participating so much. He's just leaning back and he's having fun, but he's just leaning back and he's in a stroller. And for a 7-year-old who loves participating in the world around him so much, getting him up out of that stroller. Now, we hardly use the stroller and we use the bike a couple times a day. People are waving at him. He is waving back. He's saying hi. He's blowing kisses. He's pointing out trucks and buses and garbage trucks and dogs, and is able to have a conversation with us and with his brother who's on the bike next to us in a way that we feel like we are really participating in an activity as a family. Whereas when he's in a stroller, he's just kind of sitting there. So that's been a big one. Another big one that was one of the biggest reasons we wanted self-determination is shifting how we are using our respite hours. We are very fortunate to have respite hours, and especially during this time, we really need them. And we have an au pair, which is a live-in caregiver that comes through an agency, and it is a caregiver who comes from another country as part of this program. And so we have a live-in caregiver who we have selected. We have the opportunity to select whether or not they have special needs experience, whether, their level of proficiency in English, their level of proficiency in general childcare. And so we really have control over who is coming. They're fully background checked, fully vetted, and all the government paperwork is taken care of through the agency. They have their own insurance. And it is an incredibly cost-effective way for us to have full-time childcare. And we are also setting her hours, which can vary from day to day or from week to week. And she can drive our child. She can participate in therapy sessions. She can help him do his schoolwork. And so that has been really game-changing. We started it a bit before the quarantine, and to have a live-in caregiver who is enthusiastically quarantining with us is also a way for us during this quarantine to not have someone going to their home and their family and their own community at night, or working for several different families. She is here with us, quarantining with us in a way that we feel safe. As the other Kelley was saying, we are homeschooling. We're in the Los Angeles School District, and I anticipate that will be one of the last ones to open up to students, even students with special needs. But for our son, who won't wear a mask, who drools on everything, who puts his hands in his mouth, who mouths everything, who frequently drops to the floor and will put grass or dirt or pencils or whatever in his mouth and then put it back down on the desks, I believe he is a much greater risk both to himself and to others in terms of transmission of any virus that might be out there. So I think, and it's a very personal decision for every family that I certainly respect for everyone. For our family, it would not be the right choice to send him back in the current environment. And we've been really able to structure a school type environment, and self-determination has really helped that. We have the au pair who's in many ways functioning as his teacher and powering him through the schoolwork. And then we have the super rewards of, you can do a bike ride after this. You can pet the dog, or the dog will be laying underneath you, or she's giving the sensory input commands. That has been really nice. And we've also been able to, some of the money that we would have used for things like soccer classes, swim classes, the child's play gym that he loves that's up the street, those things are all not an option right now during the quarantine. But we brought back a child development specialist who we've worked with in the past, who's really phenomenal. And for a handful of sessions of, let's make his play as functional as possible at home with the dog, with his brother, with us in the yard, and in a way that we are his community right now. And that has been a great community support, because as we are getting tapped out and we're just kicking a ball back and forth, which is great, she's able to give us a bunch of other ways to supplement his play and what he is doing, and to not feel like I'm sitting here with my calculator deciding whether or not we can afford to bring her in for a few sessions or not to I've been deciding whether or not to spend the money on this bike for a couple of years now, to take the stress away from those decisions and to say, of course we should do this for him because this greatly improves his life. It greatly pushes him closer towards his goals and really integrates him in the community, and especially at a time like this when the community is so closed off. Self-determination, I feel like, has given us a much more viable community even within the quarantine. So we've been very thankful for it. And for us, it has turned out to be well worth all of the hoops that we had to jump through in order to get here. So for anyone who's feeling frustrated with the process, I really, really encourage you to keep at it. I was on a call discussing self-determination with our financial manager, and our independent facilitator was on there, and some other people. And the independent facilitator said, if you go to the regional center's orientation and at any point during or after the orientation, you feel like, I am so completely lost, I have no idea what they're talking about, and this makes no sense to me, and I can't do this, then you're on track, because that's how we all feel in that orientation. Hopefully it has improved since then. Hopefully others are better than the one we went to. But I found the orientation to be baffling. I had no idea what was going on. And I spoke with an independent facilitator who explained everything in person language instead of HR regional center speak language. So please don't be discouraged, even if you are confused by information that seems like it should be good, because it is coming directly from the source. There are regional center people, just like in any profession, who are challenging by nature. I believe most of them are not. However, I believe very many of them are still being educated in what is the self-determination process, what is the program, and how do I, as a regional center employee, fit into that program. So they might not know. And don't be discouraged if your coordinator is challenging or does not know, because I'm certain there are people at your regional center who do know, and it might take an independent facilitator or speaking with a supervisor to figure that out. But I really believe it can be figured out, and it can be really terrific.
Thank you, Kelley. That was amazing. I got some good ideas from you too. And I want one of those bikes.
Oh, they're great.
See if you can figure out while I'm talking, if you can show what that bike looks like, because I'd really love to see it.
Yeah, let me see.
I definitely have given everybody permission to share screen, so it should work. So we next are having a speaker who is a self-advocate in the self-determination program named Nasreen. Nasreen, are you there? I saw you a little while ago. Oh, you are muted. So you need to unmute yourself, Nasreen. There you go. Can you talk so we can see if we can hear you?
Yeah, hi.
And Britt, you were going to help her out, right? You are her independent facilitator.
Yep, absolutely. Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Britt.
Hey.
Hi, Nasreen.
Hey.
I just want to quickly introduce myself.
Oh, they're in the.
So before you do that, I believe you have not selected a language, and so therefore people will not be able
English.
to hear you. So everybody needs to select a language.
How you do that?
You need, this is where if you have not muted the original audio, you can actually hear them, but if you mute the original audio, you can't. So if for everybody who's joined us, you go to the bottom of your screen and click on interpretation, and then select either English or Spanish. Can you do that, Nasreen? Does that work for you to go to the bottom and select English?
I'm looking at it. Hold on. I can try. Yeah, English. How do I find English?
Are you on a phone or an iPad?
An iPad.
An iPad. Ed, it should work on an iPad, right?
Absolutely, it should. It should be a similar process as a phone.
Okay.
It is like a phone.
I can see her and I can hear her
There we
well.
go.
Okay, you got it.
We
Perfect.
did.
All
Thank
right,
you,
Brittany,
Dave.
Brittany, you as well.
Yes.
Did you select English?
I did.
Okay, so if
Okay.
anybody's having any issues hearing the Spanish, all of these directions are in the chat, everybody, on how to do this. Okay, go ahead, Britton and Nasreen. Thank you so much for joining us and telling
Oh, I have a speech, Brittany.
you do. Excellent.
You have a speech? Great. Okay, Nasreen, I'm gonna let you take it away. Okay.
I have been in the self-determination program for about 1 year. I love it because I can do what I'm interested in and make my own decisions. I take classes and I am learning how to be more independent. Every day I have a different schedule. My life is really full and interesting. Britt from Ghana group helped me with my self-determination program. She's awesome. Every day I had an independent living skills coach that helps me with cooking, hygiene, makeup, and other things. I have a cooking class once a week. I have an art class. I take money management classes and a nutrition class. I also have a women's health class, communication art class, and self-expression class, as well as a stress management class. I also go to my horseback riding classes 2 times a week. I practice in Angels on Stage, which is a theater troupe for people with disabilities. I am on the leadership council, so I help the younger actors in the program, and I also act in plays. This year was Annie the musical. I have job skills and coach with Best Buddy. Soon I will begin a part-time bike, and I take different classes such as yoga, cycling, and meditation. I really love the fun events in my life. So as dances, bingo, and want a tongue club, and talking to my friend. I am starting to help with the self-advocacy group program to teach more people about the self-determination program. I really love the self-determination program, and I forward to the time that pandemic is over, so I could continue to volunteering in my different job and taking Uber everywhere I need to go.
That was great. I love that speech. Sounds like
Awesome.
you're living a great life, Nasreen. That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah, about the part-time back haven't came in yet.
Okay.
Yeah, Nasreen, thank you for sharing all of that. Gosh, you said that much better than I could ever say it. But as busy, Nasreen, I can vouch, Nasreen's schedule is as busy as it sounds.
And I'm doing a project on self-determination. I'm putting more people in the program.
Oh, that's so great. Who are you doing this project for?
With self-advocacy class with David.
That's great. Is that at a regional center or is that with the state council? Are you not sure?
Unfortunately.
Nasreen, can you repeat that? You kind of froze on our end. You cut out a little bit.
Yes, I'm doing it with the self-advocacy program with David.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Britt, did you want to add anything to this?
Yeah, I just wanted to, Nasreen, you said that so beautifully, but I just want to, I'm Britt, I'm Nasreen's independent facilitator with Guidelight Group. And it has been such a pleasure, such a joy working with Nasreen and her family through this process. And, you know, to both of the Kelleys, thank you both so much for sharing your stories. I hear you on that. It can be challenging at times, but the reward is so great that, you know, it's so important to encourage others and inspire others to do so. It's made, you know, it's been so great seeing this program makes such a difference in my clients' lives. And, you know, the self-determination program has really allowed Nasreen the flexibility to meet her needs in creative ways during COVID, especially. And one of those ways she already mentioned, but was that when Nasreen could no longer go to the YMCA because of COVID, she chose to purchase exercise equipment. She got a Peloton bike, and as she was mentioning, it's on its way. It'll be here any day now, which is very exciting.
On the 28th.
On the 28th. And so now, you know, she can take exercise classes safely at home. She mentioned meditation. You know, she was telling me about a meditation class she took the other day, which I'm sure we can all relate during somewhat stressful times as these. A little yoga and meditation everyone can benefit from. So yeah, I mean, she's chosen to do such amazing things with her self-determination funds. She bumped up her horseback riding to twice a week instead of one. She had the time in her schedule. You know, we found the cost savings in her spending plan and just moved some things around in order to make that happen for her. She, as she mentioned, has an art teacher who comes to the house once a week, and you know, they wear masks, they social distance, they are in the backyard and get to paint. And I've seen some of Nasreen's paintings and they are excellent. So that's just so great. I mean, as she mentioned too, before quarantine, getting to take Uber or Lyft, any ride sharing service, to access the community independently, that's huge. You know, once it's safe to do so again, she'll continue to use those funds. But that was another place where we found cost savings, obviously through, I mean, the last 6-7 months. Nasreen hasn't been able to use Uber to access the community independently. So, you know, we were able to move things around and use her self-determination funds in ways that can really meet her needs now. And so, you know, the spending plan is a forever fluid document that, you know, we have changed a number of times to update and just, you know, to revise to make it meaningful for her life right now. And so it's been great for me too. I mean, it's been such a cool experience to see her flourish and really do everything that she wants to do right now.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Britt, did you have any other stories that you wanted to share of success in the self-determination program?
You know, I actually, another one of our clients' mothers submitted something for us to read. So I would, if there's time, I'd love to share her story. Okay, it's just a short story, but she says, going through the self-determination program approval process was very frustrating for my family, as the regional center was ill-prepared. After major roadblocks and hurdles, my son was approved 1.5 years after he was selected for self-determination. Once he was approved, access to e-billing for the FMS was also frustrating because we were sandwiched in between the FMS and regional center. Once these issues were resolved, I can honestly say that the whole process was worthwhile because my son has finally started receiving quality services. We are no longer confined to the limited providers who are vendored through our regional center. Having the freedom to choose our own providers has made a huge impact in my son's life, And thanks to our independent facilitator who developed a thorough person-centered plan, which identifies what is important to and important for my son, has enabled us to use his budget to obtain the appropriate support needs to meet his goals. So that is a great example of exactly what this program is for. And, you know, as I think both Kelleys have mentioned, even though we're in, you know, year 3 of the phase-in, there are still hurdles. There are still, you know, wrinkles to flatten out, and that's okay. You know, it's about the journey and, you know, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that with time, you know, as long as we continue working collaboratively, there can definitely be frustrations, maybe like from the regional center. But I think the key is, especially if you choose to hire an independent facilitator, you know, make sure to find someone who is not only knowledgeable, but also who is just willing to work in a collaborative way with everyone else involved, right? That's the regional center, that's the FMS. There are a lot of moving parts and there are a lot of people involved, and everyone's just trying to do their best. So I think that, you know, as long as you stick with it, I think that it's very, very worthwhile.
Thank you so much. That was really great. So before we open it up to questions and comments from the community, I just want to, I was able to share, get a photo of Kelly's son's bike, which I'm going to share with you. Can you all see it?
I see that there.
So there is the bike. Kelley, you want to describe it? Oh, you're muted, Kelley.
There we go. Yes, that is our fabulous bike.
So it looks like your son sits in the front and is able to be safely in there with a strap.
Mm-hmm.
And then is it like a tricycle that you're riding on the back of it?
Yeah, so there's just one wheel in the back. So it feels like I'm riding a bike, but it has the stability because it's the 2 seats across. And he's 7 and he's a tiny little nugget for a 7-year-old. So, and he is getting close to the upper weight limits of that. You can see because his feet aren't on the bottom step, that his feet are hanging off. But that's the biggest they make those in. So we got it. And our intention is then to invest the money in getting it customized so that it can grow with him. Because with very little, you know, with very little extra effort, and it will be able to make room for him for a while to come, because he takes after me and I'm very short. So I think we can make it work. And it is so fun. Plus you get to see the dog and our other boy in there as well.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much for that.
You are so welcome. Aaron, can you wave? Hey. Good job.
That's great. And we're getting to see you in full screen now. I like your glasses. They're awesome. All right, so everybody, we're going to give you an opportunity. You can ask questions to any of the Kelleys, or to Nasreen or Brittany, and or to myself, or you can also, would love for you to share your own success stories in the self-determination program. The way you can speak is by going to the bottom of your screen, clicking on participants, and then you'll see that there's an option for the raise hand feature. So I will call on people in the order in which they raise their hand. So I'll give a moment for people to click on raise hand. I'm still not seeing anybody yet, so I may be just posing my own questions to the Kelleys and to Nasreen. But if you have, you can either have a question for them, or you can have a question actually on any part of the self-determination program, and they may have a good answer for you as well.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Kelley, how old is your daughter with Down syndrome?
She is 8.
Okay, so similar to ours.
Yes.
Nice.
Thank you for asking the question. I knew the answer to, Kelley. That was great.
Glad you know that one.
That wasn't too tough. All right, Cindy, you are first.
Hi, Judy.
Hi, how are you?
I always have questions regarding this.
That's great.
I'm trying to see if I was planning to transition in November, but now I guess it's gonna be December. But regarding all these services that all these great services they're sharing with us, my question is because I'm still don't get the budget. So it has to come up, let's see, from the budget, do we have to reduce hours from personal assistance or from respite so we can pay for all these classes or extra services that they will get
Oh, hey,
so
Cindy,
we can
can you do
afford
me
it?
a favor? Are you speaking on your phone or your computer? What are you speaking on?
My phone.
So you're gonna need to select a language. See, this is where honestly, if people keep the original language unmuted, it actually, you end up hearing everybody. I just learned this by being on too many of these things. If you're an English speaker, you can keep, you don't have to mute the original language, only in the, only if you choose Spanish, I think. So if you could, are you able to select a language on your phone so that everybody can hear you? You would have to choose English. If not, what might work is
What about
people can
putting the
unmute
question in
you.
the chat?
Oh, hold on, maybe. Oh, yes, I see it. Okay. I got it.
Try again.
Okay, great,
Perfect.
perfect. All
Oh,
right,
okay.
so hopefully people can now hear you. So I start for your question again because not everybody could hear you.
Yeah, my question is regarding about all these great service, like classes and things that we can pay with our budget.
Mhm.
Is like there's a budget setup, right? So my question is like if I wanna have Emily to have, because I know she's gonna be doing all these classes too, and hopefully she can have enough to pay for everything. Do I have to cut out from like personal assistant and respite hours so I can cover all these services, or
No.
where am I gonna get the budget for this?
Yeah, so remember that your budget is just a dollar amount. And so what goes into your individual budget is based on the services that you were approved for in the traditional system. And what's in, and then once you agree on that budget amount, doesn't matter what services went into creating that budget. You can spend it however you want in your spending plan, as long as it meets certain other standards that have nothing to do with the traditional system. So are you saying that your child has just a really tiny budget, and you're looking for other services that she may be eligible for to increase her budget? Is that what you're asking?
No, I mean, she has a really good budget, but it's only because we got like personal assistant hours and
Right.
SLA hours and that. But my question is, if I want her to have all these like classes that they're not paying right now, do I have to do less hours of personal assistance and less hours of SLA?
No, it has nothing to do, what the hours are for your, in the traditional system has nothing to do with how you spend your budget in self-determination. So you may have a budget made up of personal assistant hours, and then you may choose to spend all that money on classes or other things. You don't have to even call them personal assistants in your spending plan. It just could be, like my son has a bunch of community integrators because we just want him to be able to go to the community all the time. So there's no relationship. You don't have to worry about what went into making that budget. You spend it how you want to on classes or other things. So I want to try to make sure this is clear, and then happy to have Kelley, Brittany, Nasreen give your example. So for my son, his budget was made up in the traditional system of day program, which he's never used, personal assistance hours, and independent living services. And so those are the services that make up his budget. But we don't really do any of those things with his spending plan and in the self-determination program. He doesn't go to a day program. He goes into the community every day. He has 2 hired staff that go into the community with him every day. He takes a couple of classes. He has a personal trainer. He loves to, hang out at different places pre-COVID. So, that is how we're choosing to spend our money. He's also going to have a dietitian at some point. So that's how we're spending the money. And it had nothing to do with the day program or the personal assistance hours that he was doing.
So I don't have to use like let's see, 20 hours a week of personal assistant.
No.
It doesn't mean that I have to use in 20 hours a week of personal
No,
assistant.
it's once you get the budget agreed upon and it's been certified by the regional center, you can leave all traditional services behind and do what you want to do in your life.
Okay, and then one more question. For next year's budgets, right? It's not gonna be based, you did not use all personal assistant in hours, you did not use all your SLA hours.
No,
they're not
it
gonna
doesn't
say,
matter.
you don't back.
You don't have those hours anymore. So you just have a budget dollar amount. So if at the end of your year, you have not used everything, all that money in your budget, it is because you didn't use the new services. So maybe you didn't go to all the classes, or maybe it took you a long time to find the right class, or maybe you're using that money for cooking lessons. So maybe it took you a while to find a cooking teacher. So your budget will be based on how much you spent in the previous 12 months. But if you have a reason why you didn't spend all that money in the previous year, then you can make the same arguments you make in the traditional system, which is that you have a need for an increase in your budget.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because I was wondering.
Yeah, no, those are good questions.
Everything.
Now that people are getting into their second year in self-determination, we have to make sure that we're explaining that piece of it.
Yeah, because in one thing it was hearing all like the training and the cooking classes and all that. I was like, well, the budget is for the personal assistant and the SLA. Am I supposed to use that money for those activities?
No,
or
you don't have to use that at all.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think regional centers fully understand this piece either yet.
This is a huge problem, actually, Judy. And I know Sandra and Miriam and Tracy are all up with questions, but one of the things that's really important to just keep in mind is that if you have an amazing service coordinator, this is going to be a wonderful process, even if it's hard. If you have a really not great service coordinator, it is going to be really hard because everything is already really hard for you. Like, that's not self-determination. That's just really bad luck sometimes. But I've helped those 4 families I was mentioning earlier. And what we used to use the funding for, at least for my daughter, she used to have respite. She used to have ABA. And she used to have family education, something like that. Now we just take the total amount that was spent on those things, and I take that total amount plus her unmet needs. I put it into her new plan, and that new plan has how much I want to pay somebody to work with her, how much I want to pay for a class, how much I want to do, and all of those parts. And we determine, she's 8. So in fairness, mom is determining right now what that looks like. But so Cindy, hopefully that helps a little bit get an idea, like the total amount of your last 12 months of POS, that purchase of service, determines your starting point. Then you're looking for your unmet needs and your changes in circumstances. COVID's a huge change in circumstances for many, many people. And then you're going to get that final budget. You can create that budget without having their official certified budget, just to get yourself an idea of what you want to be doing. If you choose not to do that and you wait for the regional center, you may have the back and forth thing, but you're going to have the back and forth with lots of them anyway.
Yeah.
No, thank you. That gave me a clear idea, because in my mind I was thinking, I already agree with the budget, but I thought I had to use the money funds for every department, and then I was scared for next year budget they're gonna tell me, well, you didn't use all your SLA hours and your
It has
personal.
nothing to do with that in
initiative."
year 2. Judy's
Okay, perfect.
Judy's point was really helpful.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you
So-
very much.
Question though.
So there's a follow-up question in the chat about this, saying that there is no way that a budget can be used fully this year. Is that going to be an issue to get the same amount next year? So I think that that's probably the case with a lot of people. In the case of my family, it's not true, because we're using the money in a way that we wouldn't have used it previously, because we're having to use so much more intensive staffing than we normally would because of being home so much. We tend to travel a lot, our family, and we were planning on being out of the country for probably a couple of months in 2020. That did not happen. So we're ending up using a lot of that money for staffing. So for some people, they're going to, in fact, we're going to really go right up to the limit of his funding. But for other people, because you can't find, maybe you couldn't find a staff member, or you couldn't participate in certain activities, you will be able to, after your 1 year mark in the self-determination program, remember, it's not a calendar year. It is when your IPP happened that moved you into the self-determination program. So at the 1 year mark of after entering the program, if you were able to say, listen, the reason why we didn't spend 100% of the approved budget is because of COVID, to me, that's a pretty good excuse. And regional centers really should be restoring that budget. For those people I know who have entered their second year in the program, I'm hearing that that's been happening pretty clearly this year. So I think it'll be okay for folks. I'm going to go to, I see questions from Sandra, or maybe you have a really great story to tell, because you always have amazing stories, Sandra.
Well, I have a question, and I could tell a story. So, Kelley, how did you get ABA for a child that should have gotten it through insurance?
That's a delightful question. My child does not have a diagnosis of autism, and so as a result of that, our insurance does not cover that, and she did not have Medi-Cal yet when we were approved.
Okay, so the Medi-Cal missing is the bonus in that case.
In that case, and well, and now, I mean, it was, and actually, we even pushed it into her school, so we did all kinds of wackadoodle stuff on that one. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
But yes, that's how that one was, and I assume that it was to me, Kelley, not to Kelley Coleman, correct?
Yes, it was to you.
Just checking.
May I just build on that for anyone
Sure.
who's looking at ABA? In general, and in most cases, if the child has an autism diagnosis, you need to go through insurance first, be that private insurance or Medi-Cal, if you have that. For many, if not most or all private insurance, they will not cover ABA without the autism diagnosis. However, Medi-Cal will if you have the evaluation done by the ABA company and the evaluation recommends ABA hours, then Medi-Cal does have the ability to do that, and also has the advantage of not having to pay a copay, which many private insurances do have.
Thank you.
Although remember that you can get regional centers sometimes to pay your copays. So always remember that.
Yeah, they're actually taking one of my clients and making them fill out the financial. There's a whole scale of how much they'll pay based on the family income.
If you have Medi-Cal, that is waived.
What is waived?
The family participation cost. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you have Medi-Cal, you do not pay that.
But it's Medi-Cal's the secondary.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Medi-Cal is Medi-Cal.
Okay. Okay. So you want to hear a story?
Yeah.
So I have a client who has stamina issues, but wanted a business walking dogs. Well, the reality is she'd be able to walk a dog in the morning and walk a dog in the afternoon. And that's about all she'd be able to do. And so we set up a program in her person-centered plan. We brainstormed what else could she do that has to do with dogs. And she has a job coach that's coming to her house. So she's actually able to use those funds. And it's somebody they hired who previously was an ABA staff person that their family connected with very well. She's come into the house. They are now baking dog biscuits in between walking the dog. She has one dog client. She walks them in the morning, walks them in the afternoon, and bakes dog biscuits, and is starting, and she's testing different dog biscuit recipes, and will be starting her own dog biscuit company. She also has a personal, this is an adult, so she has a larger budget than most people under 22. She also has a personal trainer, and she's taking cooking classes, and her independent living staff are helping her as well. So she's having a blast, and she's so thrilled to have somebody at the house where she was just sitting home doing nothing before, because the day program she was in, the congregate day program, wasn't meeting. So there's one story. I've got more, but
Great.
I won't hog your whole.
No, I know, please. I love hearing you. You have such great stories. I love it. Thanks, Sandra.
I love that story.
So I apologize because I may have accidentally put somebody's hand down necessarily, but I have Miriam next, but I feel like there was a third person with their hand up and now I don't see them anymore. So please re-put your hand up if you had done that. Miriam, did you have a question or a story to share?
I have a question, and it's about the budget, the spending plan. I think I've said it before. I'm worried about those one-time expenses, like a Peloton bike. I want to get an iPhone, an Apple Watch for my son. He has epilepsy. I want to use it for tracking seizures. So that will diminish the budget, and they will declare it one-time expenses, and the budget will go down every year. What can I do? I think in one of the webinars you said that it's questionable if an iPhone or Apple Watch is actually a one-time expense, because you do buy it maybe every second year. So I'm really worried about that, because I'm also thinking about getting a service dog, that will take a chunk of more than $20,000 out of my budget.
Or you could use the place where Kelley got her son's.
I unfortunately was turned down at that place. I actually connected to Kelley. I talked to her and I applied to that company.
I think what we're missing here is change in circumstances. And every time there's a change in circumstances, you have a discussion about how to increase that budget. And it's not that it's like the one time. We've got quite a few, like we're only buying that place at once because my husband put that thing together, and I'm pretty sure our marriage will end if I ask him to put together another one. He's a great guy, but he's not doing that again. So if like that changes, like that's a one-time purchase, that's fine. I don't need it again. And it's not likely that I'll need that funding again. But when we have a change in circumstances, perhaps COVID ends someday, or COVID, like we have a vaccine someday, or we can go back into the world someday. Those are all going to be changes of circumstances. And those could increase our budget, or they could decrease our budget. And that conversation would be a lot like being in the traditional service system, where a cut to the budget of 30%, like happened the year before my daughter was born, would devastate everybody equally. So yes, of course, it's scary that it's possible that you could have to have more conversations about what the needs are. But if you frame it around, this is the goal, this is the change in circumstances, depending on what your regional center does and what your service coordinator does, that could be an amazing and easy conversation, or it could be very difficult. And that's not self-determination again. That is just the beast that is the regional center system. I mean, that's my opinion about it.
Yeah. And I want to piggyback on that, Kelley. So one of the biggest issues with the self-determination program is that a lot of the people who are going into it already have trust issues with their regional centers. And because you don't have you have a trust issue with your regional center, you're trying to hoard all the money. You're just like, oh my God, I don't want to buy the bike, or I don't want to buy the playground, because then that money will be taken out of my child's budget, and therefore we will never be able to get it back. Because you're thinking you'll never be able to get it back because you don't trust your regional center to do that. Well, I have to tell you that self-determination is never going to work until we start building that trust. And I understand why. I understand why people don't have trust. I get it. I really, really get it. But now we should not be hoarding money. You should not be like ending your year and going on a Price is Right shopping spree, because all of a sudden you realize you're 10 months into your budget and you because of COVID, you didn't spend, $20,000, and all of a sudden I'm going to buy this and I'm going to this. No, that we are stewards, but part of the principles of self-determination is responsibility. And that means with that freedom comes the responsibility to take taxpayer dollars and spend it responsibly. And so that just means, we didn't really need that money this year. We didn't spend it, so we didn't need it. In the pilot program, you found that lots of the pilot participants gave back a quarter of their budget every year because they trusted that their regional center would restore it if that money was needed. So this program is not going to work until people stop hoarding the money. I'm seeing it left and right from y'all. I'm not looking at anybody in particular, but I'm seeing it a lot. And
She's looking at me, guys. It's not you. It's okay.
Yeah. So just take what you need. This is not the chance to buy the moon. These are public funds. And, my son's budget is a very modest budget. He's an adult out of school, but his budget is less than many people's budgets who are children. But it's all that we need. It is the budget that we need. And I have trust in my regional center. Maybe people will say it's misplaced, but I still have it. I have trust in my regional center that when my son's needs increase, which they will when he moves out as he gets older, that they will be there and they will increase that budget to the point where his needs will continue to be met. So if you are thinking of buying an iPhone or iWatch or whatever, that is a one-time purchase, and that money will be taken out of your budget after 1 year. If you have additional needs, you can request your budget to be restored to a higher amount for those additional needs. But clearly you didn't have those needs this year because you were able to buy one-time purchases. So just remember that it's okay if your budget gets lowered because of a one-time purchase, because that was a really awesome thing you got to buy, whether it was that bike, that dog, that playground. It's okay if your budget is lowered because of that. All right, I'm going to go to Miriam. So that was Miriam who asked that question. Yes. So Tommy.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. It's good to see everyone. I love your stories. Thank you all so much for sharing them. My son Dylan is 20 and not yet in self-determination, but we are gearing up and been waiting for years, ready to go. So I love, thank you for kind of breaking the ice a little bit here and finding out. But what I'm really curious is people's experiences negotiating unmet needs and changes in circumstances. I understand that terminology, but I'm wondering how it's actually playing out in real life. And from what you're saying, Kelley, it almost sounds like that is one of those, depends on who your service coordinator is. But generally, I'm wondering what the sense is about how that's playing out.
I've done this 5 times now with unmet needs. Because I've helped other families, right? And ELARC, I'm just gonna do a huge shout out. They were phenomenal, like amazing. Service coordinator, all the departments, all the everybody's, amazing. Like made me want to move to Commerce.
Monrovia.
Monrovia. I don't know. It's Commerce because they have a really good camp program for their kids there too. Amazing. Like my heart, like we increased someone's budget by almost $40,000 just because the service coordinator wasn't afraid to say, you're right. Those are unmet needs. You're absolutely right. Phenomenal. I've worked with North LA and with Kern. So those are my 3 experiences. So I don't know if that helps like the experience of the group much, but so far, East LA and North LA have been really great. How's that?
Not your own regional center.
It's not what I said.
Oh, okay, right.
East LA and North LA have been really great. She doesn't hear.
I know, but that's very upsetting because Kern is a pilot regional center and should be doing better. I mean,
I'm just saying That it really, I think you're right. It's going to depend. It's going to depend. And the more programs I help people, and I'm only helping people like who like say, hey, Kelley, would you mind like helping me with this? And we just like get one done at a time. And it seems to be working pretty well. Because I work full time and I have full-time children and whatever. I have a play set to go swing on. All that stuff has to happen. So those are really
part-time children. See, that's the difference.
That is a great idea. I'm going to send mine to Judy for the rest of the year and see how that works out for us. But I think the unmet needs during COVID, it has been very easy to talk about unmet needs in COVID. All right. I mean, I think that if you're doing this now or by June, was it June 8th next year? Like assuming that all the dates work the way that they're supposed to and that nobody like the meteorites or something don't hit the earth. It is 2020, could be anything. I think you're probably going to have a pretty easy time talking about unmet needs then, but you have to remember those unmet needs have to be something that would be funded in the traditional system. So what you can be doing is requesting those right now to prepare yourself for next year or whenever you're ready to move into self-determination. And if that's the best thing for your family. I mean, that's something you could be putting in right now.
And speaking of COVID being an unmet need, I want to just mention to everybody, if you did not hear, that DDS has revised their frequently asked questions on their websites. And it includes a very clear statement that if people are receiving extra services because of COVID that are temporary, that the amount that is equal to those temporary services should be added to people's self-determination budgets. This was really an important success story for us because we've been asking for this clarification for a very long time. Some regional centers have just gone ahead and done it. My regional center is not. So we're really happy to have that clarification. In fact, if I could ask Ed to put in the chat the link for the FAQs, which I think was in the email that we sent out yesterday or today, that would be great. So everybody could have it.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Lori.
Hi. So a couple comments. Yeah, I don't think we really need to worry about the budget shrinking next year at all. I don't have any experience with somebody going into their second year yet. There's also that question about, you have to have your certified budget before the year. So we're only going to have like 10 months of self-determination before we start negotiating for next year anyways. And some items on some people's spending plans are seasonal. So if it was a summer camp and you're negotiating in May, you didn't spend that money yet. So there's going to be all that coming up. But one of the things that I've found to take away a little bit of the anxiety about possible one-time purchases for somebody is that I'm creating a line that says, and I just wrote it down for one of my spending plans, assessment, training, and equipment ongoing. So I'm kind of lumping in, so like Kelley's swing set, I could say it's something to do with physical activity. So I'm going to say personal trainer and yoga instructor and equipment, and then the word ongoing. And once we get that ongoing, that piece of equipment that we bought, the money is just jumbled up in that whole line item. And so it's a little bit, I just feel a little more comfortable putting that word ongoing right in my spending plan.
That's great idea. That is an excellent idea.
And the other thing, I agree with you, Judy. We are supposed to be good stewards of this money. And I think with the guys that I work with the high budgets, our goal is to provide better quality life to that person for less money than was spent on them last year, to show that it can be done for less. We don't need to maximize the budget just because we got it. We want to fight for the biggest budget we can, but our spending plan can have an excess in it. And at the end of the year, we can give money. Well, I mean, it's not really giving back, but the FMS can not have charged for that money. And we can show that self-determination is viable. Because if all of us ask for more money than we got last year and we spend it all, that's not really helping the state's budget. And that could prove to be detrimental to the whole program in the end.
I 100% agree. And we have to be really careful, especially the first 2,500 going in. We are the role models for others. So this is not the time to try to milk the system. This is the time to get funding, to get what you need. And many of you have not been getting your needs met. So we understand that.
I think one of the other parts of that though, I don't think anyone here is saying my goal is to milk the system. I don't think that's not our goal here. We want to make sure our loved ones' needs are met. And if we're the self-advocate, we want to make sure our own needs are met. Well, I think one of the hard parts is that trust factor is problematic with a lot of places. And the only way that we're going to start making this better is to start almost like starting from scratch. That self-determination program can be a fresh start. I would kind of wish that our regional center had chosen to have all of the self-determination subjects with one amazing program manager, and then one or two or three amazing service coordinators, because I know that some places are doing that kind of a model. I think that those kinds of things would have gone a long way to help rebuild that trust. Yeah. And I'm sad that we're still in a place. I mean, I'm 8 years in only. I know some of you are, I don't know, some of you are octogenarians and stuff. So some of you are in farther than I am, and that's great. But the trust has been broken so badly for so many of us that I get it. I understand that frustration. So I'm not trying to minimize that, but the spending plan and the one-time spending and Lori's idea of the ongoing notation, all of those things are ways to avoid that particular frustration and sadness.
Thank you, Kelley.
And
may I let you ask or make the final comment?
Who did you say?
See you say that.
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't hear. I just want to say, I have a theory, and I may be wrong. It may just be the 10 clients that I have, but I have a theory that DDS picked people with pitiful budgets on purpose to see how the regional centers were going to react to actually providing them with the services they deserved in the beginning. Because maybe I'm just not getting the clients who have decent budgets, but every single one of mine has been sorely underserved. Now, when my son goes in next summer, he's going to be one that saves the system money. We're going to be able to give all of his supported living staff and his job coaches raises. We're going to hire them directly. We're going to be able to give them raises and give back at least, $5 to $10 an hour for each one of them.
That's wonderful. So I don't know that they picked people with pitiful budgets. What they did do, because it was a random selection, but it was based on ethnic diversity. And what we know is that many people who are Latino, African-American, and Asian have been historically underserved. And so what you're seeing then is I think that well more than half of people who got into self-determination are not white. And so because of that, that means that more than half of the people are potentially already, systemically underserved. And so, and then obviously there are whites who are underserved as well. So, what I think it says about the system is that there's a shitload of people who are underserved. And self-determination is one way to figure out how to improve the system for everybody. So it does do that. Well, we only have a couple more minutes, but I wanted to say a few things about, one of the things I definitely had wanted to say was about this, the FAQs being revised on the DDS website, and Ed put the link in the chat. The second thing is that we are having, no date has been set yet, but DVU has decided to have a virtual self-determination conference in February. Many of you went to our conference a year ago. It was in November. It was like a year ago this weekend. And it was like 500 people. It was phenomenal. We had so much fun. We had some great breakouts. And had there not been COVID, we would have been doing another one in person now. We are absolutely committed to having one. It's not going to be as good. We fully admit that it's very hard to have a conference virtually. People can't sit on the screen for hours every day. But we are using some really cool techniques that people will be able to go into certain rooms where you can meet other people, their families or other independent facilitators. There will be a chance for you to dialogue with vendors. We normally have these vendor tables. So each vendor is going to have their own room. And during certain times, people can just check into different rooms and then get out of different rooms to talk to the vendors. So there's going to be, you know, we're going to do it the best we can. But it is in anticipation of the program going statewide in June. And so it'll be in February. And we're very, very excited about that. And please stay in touch with us. If you're not currently on our email list, please get on our email list, because you can get on our email list by going to our website at disabilityvoicesunited.org. And that way you'll get the announcements for all of our SDP Connects. Or you could go right to this little link that was just put in the chat. The third thing that I just wanted to mention before we get off is that this Friday, Disability Voices United, in cooperation with Disability Vote California, which is a coalition of family-led groups, self-advocacy groups, service providers, and regional centers, we are hosting our last webinar for the election. It is going to be Friday from 12 to 1:30. It's a post-election webinar where we will break down the issues for you. I cannot tell you what will be discussed yet because things seem to be still moving, and I'm getting like news notices even as we speak. But we will have a very smart lawyer named Alan Ehrenbaum, who I happen to be married to, who is an election, he's an expert in elections, will be sort of breaking it down for everybody. Plus we'll have our co-chairs of our coalition and a bunch of self-advocates talk about how they feel, you know, what happened at the election. We are a nonpartisan organization, but I'm sure there will be people expressing their individual views on this webinar. But if you have any questions, if you want to get out your frustrations, we will be able to help you on Friday. So with that, we want to thank everybody for joining us. It is an hour and a half. I know we had a different start time this week, and we want to thank everybody for being flexible about that. Then we may or may not be back next week during this time, because one of our amazing board members, Tim Jin, is going to be appearing in a TEDx talk during the time that we normally have SDP Connect. And everybody I know is going to be listening in on his TEDx talk as opposed to being on this. So I fear that, and I can't be on it because of course I'll be listening in on his TEDx talk. Everybody should do it. Maybe actually remind me, Ed, we should be promoting his TEDx talk in a DVD.
The link. And I just put the link in the chat.
Thank you, honey.
To register for it. Please register. It'll be great.
So it's in the chat, and we'll also send it out to our mailing list. So if you are on our mailing list, you will get information about it. So thank you all for joining us. I'll stay on for just a couple more minutes if people want to just get into the chat and get the links. Oh, I want to thank, I want to thank Kelley and Kelley, the two Kelleys.
Thank you.
And I want to thank Nasreen and her independent facilitator, Brittany, for your amazing presentations and for being such great self-determination participants. Thank you, everybody. Take care and be safe out there. Bye.
Thank you, Judy.